brain teaser? I popped this on the live stream last night. It confused the crap out of people. This is a good one. Say you got 2 or 3 cameras here, okay? Full frame and a crop sensor camera. Doesn't matter which one, right? And then a medium format camera. This is a good one. Which camera, and I'm going to eliminate the mirror here in a second. Which camera at, say, 1/500th of a second? Doesn't matter what shutter speed it is. Let's just say it's above 1/100th of a second. 1/250th of a second. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Which camera between the full frame or the crop sensor and the medium format at the exact same shutter speed, same aperture, same everything, forget about the lens, is a lot more susceptible to shutter shake? Which one? Now, all of them are shooting 1/250th or 1/500th of a second, everything. Right? Now, you're going to say, what about the mirror? Mirror doesn't play any part of this. Here's a hint. Let's say you're shooting in mirror up mode, right? But you do a handheld mirror up mode. Most people don't. I mean, I could do it successfully rather easily. Mirror up mode. So, the mirror equation and mirror slap is taken out of the equation. Full frame mirrorless, right? Let's just say full frame mirrorless and medium format. Which one is more susceptible to nasty shake if you don't have like a really awesome holding and shutter release technique? And the answer is the medium format. And that perplexed people. So, if they're both exactly the same, 1/500th of a second, 1/250th of a second, why would the medium format be so much worse? They're both the exact same thing. Same scene, take the same picture, same light, same everything. There's none of that. Why? Because 1/500th of a second is not the same as 1/500th of a second. What? We've eliminated out the mirror, so what are the additional variables? Mass, inertia, and travel time for exposure. Now, the shutter blades, now we're not talking about shooting an electronic shutter, okay? We're talking about true mechanical shutter. The shutter blades are Teflon-coated Kevlar, so there's a larger mass there on the medium format camera. There's also greater inertia from the larger blades, but also greater inertia due to the armatures that actually control the first curtain and the second curtain. So they're longer and they're heavier. But in addition to that, the exposure time is different. Well, how could it be different? 1/500th of a second on both, or 1/250th of a second. No mirror involved whatsoever. How could they be different if they're the exact same shutter speeds? And the answer is, shutter speed is not the same thing as total time it takes to expose the sensor to an X period of light. Let's take a crop sensor camera. Well, the easiest way to understand this is, imagine this is a movie that you're watching and it has curtains in front of it. Not that you'd ever have curtains in front of your iPad, right? Like the movie curtains, you remember back in the days when the actual curtains would open and you see the movie? That doesn't happen anymore, but it used to happen all the time. Curtains would open. Now, time to exposure is not the same thing as time to total exposure. So, while the sensor from the first curtain that opens up in the second curtain, or the rear curtain, second curtain, rear curtain, same thing, to exposure follows a period of identical time, 250 to 500 a second, it's not the same because the total time for that full exposure of the entire sensor is a longer period of time, even though the shutter speed itself, the shutter speed only translates into sensor exposure. Shutter speed does not translate into total time to exposure. Let's revisit that understanding a second. Because nobody answers this question on any of these YouTube photography channels. Maybe it's because they don't use medium format. Let's repeat that. Shutter speed only refers to sensor exposure time. It does not refer to the total time it takes to expose the entire sensor. So while the entire sensor is being exposed over a longer period of time, the shutter speed remains the constant if we have 2 identical cameras. Crop sensor and full frame versus medium format, or full frame versus medium format. Isn't that neat? Because the guy's been asked that question before. People said, well, you know, I'm thinking about getting that GFX Fujifilm, but I hear there's a lot of camera shake. Only one of the lenses has vibration reduction. Why is there more camera shake on a medium format sensor? Mass and inertia regarding the shutter blades and the armatures that hold the shutter blades. But importantly, the time of sensor exposure is not the same thing as the time of total sensor exposure. Because total sensor exposure is disconnected from actual shutter speed. And that's going to confuse you until you actually think about it for 5 seconds, because it's entirely illogical. So I've answered that question rather eloquently. Maybe I didn't answer it eloquently, but I answered it accurately anyway. Nobody else answered it. So I've been asked that question 4 or 5 times already. More than that. So that is the answer to that one. I thought I'd stump everybody in the live stream last night. That was so fun. People were like, no, it's the same. It's like, no, it's not the same. Well, how could it be not the same? They're both the exact same shutter speed. They're the same shutter speed, but the same shutter speed on the medium format camera is more cumbersome, more involved, more sensitive to shake due to those variables: mass, inertia, and total time exposure. I hope I cleared that up. I certainly, if I didn't clear it up, then we have a problem. English might not be your first language. That could be the only thing I could think of. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if there's anything I could help you with. I ran into a lot of people today at the Woodland Art Fair with Fujifilm cameras. I took a picture of a couple of them. I offended one woman. I pointed at her really neat Fujifilm silver camera. She had the X100. I was like, Fujifilm! And she goes, yeah, so? It's like, well, damn, girl. I was complimenting you. Women, whatever, women. Women don't understand men's logic and vice versa. Yep. Thanks for watching, and bye.